Hello and welcome back to the Give and Go. I'm your co-host Reynoso here with my boy
Soltero. What's up, guys?
and folks. Today, I'd like to announce a guest that we will have on today's show. It's not often that we have guests on this show, but
Hell
when we
yeah.
do, we go all out. And we got one of the best guests out there in the football soccer space. I'm talking about Adriana Monsalve, a woman who is experienced in sportscasting, sports journalism. She sings, she reports, she does it all. She's a jack of all trades.
Oh, multi-talented.
Multi-talented.
Okay.
She's been on Telemundo, ESPN, Televisa, TUDN, and best of all, her birthday's tomorrow, apparently.
Oh, happy birthday. Okay.
So she's here to celebrate with the Give and Go boys.
You did your research.
Folks, I'd like to welcome you to the first ever Personality Sports Emmy Award recipient, Adriana Monsalve.
Adriana, welcome.
Wow,
Welcome.
what a presentation. Thank you, guys. I'm going to come more often.
You really should.
It's a pleasure for me. It's a pleasure to me be here with you guys in the podcast. I feel awesome. I've seen your work. You're really good. And I love the way you talk about sports, the way you talk about soccer, football, soccer, like you mentioned before. So I think we're going to have a great time talking about all the topics that are in right now.
No, absolutely. Welcome to the podcasting world. It's a different world over here for sure, but hopefully you enjoy your stay. And I guess I would like to know a little bit more about you.
Don't ask me about my age, okay?
Oh no, never. I know
We got to be real careful.
We gotta be careful. We gotta be careful out here. No, absolutely not.
No,
But
because
if
now
anything-
you're gonna start. Yeah, I remember when I saw you on TV. I was in high school or I was in elementary school. That kind of thing.
Yeah, let's get real personal. What was your first kiss?
Honestly, you've had such a storied career, a very impressive career. One that I'm just curious myself. I'd like to know, just from a outsider perspective, how do you get started? How did your career begin in this field specifically? Because you've made it so far now. I'm truly curious to know. Were you like an intern at one point? Did you go to school for this at one point? What did you do to end up in this space and in this world?
I went to school back in Venezuela where is my country. I was born and raised in Caracas. I decided in 2002 move to the United States, looking for the American dream, like everybody immigrant, like any immigrant in the U.S. Look for. So I had the opportunity to live in Orlando, Florida. At that moment, of course, I have my experience working on TV back in Venezuela, but never had the experience to work in sports. So back in 2002, I came to the U.S. I started to do, spokesperson for commercials, for TV commercials, and everything that I was being able to be as close as I can to the media, to the industry. So they saw me on one of the commercials and they asked me to do casting in Telemundo Orlando, which is the local station of Telemundo in Orlando, Florida, in the Central Florida area. And they asked me, when I got there, they told me, hey, we're going to do an audition, sports. So do you know anything about sports? Because it was back in 2002.
Wow.
Probably for the Spanish industry, it was not too much women in the area or on TV. So I asked them, well, I know basically more than any other woman could know. I grew up watching, boxing with my dad. I grew up watching the World Series and MLB while I was a kid. I played kickball when I was a little kid, and it's basically the same rules that applies to baseball. So I know a little bit. So I did the casting and they told me, are you afraid to do this casting? And I said, well, I'm nervous because I'm doing an audition. And every time I do an audition, I get nervous. But if you were asked me to do politicians or, or general news or whatever, of course I was gonna, up to the challenge. So I did that. They loved it. And they offered me the on a regular basis job to be the host of the sports segment on Telemundo Orlando. But it was a really small channel, so I had to do everything. I had to, as an intern, I had to do my makeup. I had to, write all the notes. I had to have a little bit of experience on PR to set up all the interviews with the Orlando Magic, which was, we were like the insiders of the Orlando Magic in Spanish. So we didn't have self-esteem. Otherwise, I wouldn't do the camera myself to do all my reporting work. So I did everything there. I edited my stuff. I produced everything. So it really helped me to develop a better performance when I was, doing all the areas of the segment. So that's where I started. And then ESPN offered me a job in Mexico to do Sports Center in Spanish.
Oh,
wow. Like 3 years later.
Man, that must have been a big moment in your career then. To get that call from ESPN, that's like a dream come true, honestly.
It was so funny. You know why? Because let me tell you the story. When they called me to ask me if I wanted to go to Mexico to do an audition for Sports Center, I was trying to get my green card in the US. So when I got the green card, like 2 months later, they asked me if I can go to work with them, but in Mexico. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, so how is this going to work? I'm just getting my green card. I have to stay here in the US, but I'm gonna be living in Mexico. So what am I gonna do? But when I asked my husband, do you think that I should thinking of going to Mexico to work for ESPN? And he told me, it's ESPN. Wow, you have to go.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah. Man.
So I went to Mexico. I lived there for 4 years, working and doing Sports Center. And then they transferred me to LA to do Nación ESPN, which was a show that I was doing with David Feitelson.
Wow, big name. But
Oh.
I heard through my research that you have a history, or you have a nickname, almost like you're known for being the person that isn't afraid to fight back against Feitelson. Is that true?
That's true. It was great to work with him. I learned a lot working with David Feitelson. The good stuffs and the bad stuffs too.
He's one of the most prominent like sports voices in Hispanic media. So that's awesome that you got to experience.
I know.
That really
is cool. It was great, and it helps me, and I learned to debate, to be polemic, to talk about hot topics, and not to be afraid of, fight back with him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So since a lot of your experience has been varied as far as like the sports that you cover, where does soccer lie on like your ranking of sports? Like, do you like baseball more? Oh. Is soccer like, is it growing as far as like what you like to watch now? Like, how has that been for you?
Grew up, baseball, of course, as a Caribbean country like Venezuela.
Yeah.
When you start, grow, you breathe baseball. But I fall in love with soccer, football soccer, I would say. There's a lot of passion in that sport. It's great. I love it. I love all the stories surrounded the sport, and it becomes. I think it has become my first sport, and I just love soccer. Football.
Football. I actually have like a kind of a similar experience, because growing up, it was basketball for me. I only watched basketball. I lived and breathed it. But then when I watched the 2010 World Cup, I saw all of that passion, all of that emotion. And then on top of that, I realized how global the sport was. And seeing all the different cultures play at such a high level, it was so inspiring to watch. And like you, I completely fell in love with the sport, and I haven't looked back since. Low-key, I'm maybe addicted to it now. So, so it's all football.
I think I'm addicted too. I'm addicted too, and I fell in love with soccer in 1990. It was the first World Cup that I saw.
Oh wow, nice.
That I followed, and I remember the music, and I fell in love about everything about it. Cup, not just the sport itself, also like the experience, like the whole world watching just the same tournament. And I think that was one of the most important things, me being, in love about soccer, the music, the entertainment, all the players, I think all the stories that are around a World Cup, it's a lot of inspiration.
I think that love shows when you listen to songs like El Fútbol Llegó,
El Fútbol Llegó. But I also have it in English. You haven't heard the English version? Soccer is here. It's here to stay. The world is united for the love of the game. We never give up.
I need to find that. I like that actually. But yeah, we've been playing that song nonstop because I love I love how it captures that excitement of the World Cup coming. And seeing that you made a song about it, I loved it. I loved it. But most of all, you've had such a historic career. You've been in so many television networks. You've covered football and other sports for so long. I'm very curious to know your opinion on the man right behind you. Lionel Messi has arrived to the MLS. What are your thoughts overall? Messi is here. He has arrived. And what's the atmosphere like over in Miami?
Messi is here. He's here to stay.
Party, come on, Messi's here.
Messi is football. Messi represents the passion, like a global passion of the people here in Miami. It's amazing. It's been a phenomenon. We are amazed that he's here. We are amazed what he has shown on and off the field, what he represents for all the Latin American people living in Miami, because that's the most of the people that it's going to the stadium. That's most of the people that it's really excited about having Messi playing football, soccer in the MLS and also in Miami. It's been amazing the last, the 3 days that we're being, so close to Messi. The unveil was great. It was surreal. Like I didn't believe, of all the years that I've been covering football, soccer, to have Messi, Lionel Messi, so close, watching him, playing football in America, watch him represent what South American soccer is, and how not just South American soccer is, international soccer is. It's been an amazing experience seeing him make his teammates better. I think that's a phenomenon that you don't see too often in sports, probably with the GOATs. And we saw it with Jordan, like he makes all his teammates better. We see it with LeBron James. We see it with Tom Brady. Like this kind of sports personalities make sports even more beautiful. And I think that's the thing that I've seen with Messi playing with Inter Miami. And not just his teammates, also his rivals. On the match of Cruz Azul, he made Cruz Azul play even better. We saw again Uriel Antuna playing at his best.
Yes, you're right. He brought out something in him that we don't usually see from Antuna, and he was able to equalize in that game. You're right.
Exactly.
And
so
also, like,
Messi have that kind of power on the field.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think the best example of the point you're making is Taylor. The left winger. Robert Taylor.
Lord.
I made a joke about how he's the Mbappe to Messi, like but to actually see him get 2 goals and an assist last night against the Atlanta United, I was so fascinated. I was like, I do think a large part of that is the Messi effect, that impact that both Messi and Busquets have had on the team. It's rubbing off on all these players. And even though this guy's from Finland, you can see the influence of Messi on the pitch and how they're just working together to score these amazing opportunities.
I've been thinking a lot about that, actually. The impact that Messi has on his teammates might be greater than the impact that it has like outside of the pitch, which is already crazy, because we talked about Taylor, but I kind of look at the opportunity that 18-year-old Benjamin Kremaski has to
Mhm.
play
Yeah.
and interchange right behind Messi, and then on top of that, to have a guy like Sergio Busquets right beside him.
He's getting
at
spoiled.
18.
Yeah.
But he has that opportunity, and he went off last night. And
Yeah,
I think he was incredibly nervous against Cruz Azul. He had a really bad game, in my opinion. But in last night's game against Atlanta, I think he recognized the opportunity that was right in front of him. Oh,
Yeah.
I am living my dream at 18 years of age when I just started my professional career. Let me learn from these guys.
Yeah.
Like, what
Yeah.
better masters of the game to learn from than Busquets and Messi?
Man.
So
Yeah,
I'm going to really be looking at Kremaski and Taylor and any other player. Allen. Oh, yeah.
They got a lot of youngsters
Yeah.
Inter Miami. A lot of young players on their team.
Yeah, Dixon
A
as
lot of
well.
young players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm so
And
excited to see what they can do.
Young players having the experience, been playing with Lionel Messi, with playing with Busquets, we've been playing with Jordi Alba, all of three of them, they're world champions, World Cup champions. So that's something, that's why I always, people always going to hate, and people is always going to criticize, whatever, because that's we're human. So that's natural for everybody. But I don't think Messi's hiring is not just a business strategy. I think on the sports part, it's too important to have Messi right here. Like that kind of level of player, you don't have it every day on a regular basis on, in MLS or in Liga MX. So having Messi on Leagues Cup make this tournament even more important, even more spectacular. Without Messi, it would have going to be just, a regular tournament, binational, Liga MX against MLS. That's it. But with Messi on the picture, it's different. And think about this. Messi was on vacation. Sergio Busquets was on vacation as well. They're not in the, 100%, but they can give on the field. We have to wait a little bit more of them. So Joseph Martinez was saying yesterday, what is the difference of having Messi now on Inter Miami? And he mentioned, we get the ball more. We get more the ball.
Wow.
Like, it's just a tiny difference. You couldn't see on against Cruz Azul. When he got into the field, it was a totally different Inter Miami.
Yeah, and I actually just want to go off that because I completely agree. When Messi came onto the pitch and when he started last night against Atlanta, they had so much more of the ball, but not even that. It's the threat that Messi poses, and that impact when he's not even on the ball. Two defenders are thinking, okay, where's Messi? Where's Messi? Where's Messi? Mm-hmm. And then when he is on the ball, four players are looking at the ball. All right, we got to get this ball. But the diagonal, his technique, the amount of diagonal balls that Messi can throw out to Taylor or to Martinez is ridiculous. And even if it doesn't land, the defender has to deal with tracking back and getting that ball, or at least maintaining some sort of defensive composure. And that's all because of Messi's presence. It's ridiculous. And yes, he's just started, from a little off season. He's only going to get better. And things really are just easy for Messi, huh?
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy.
I heard on the call last night that they've only had Busquets and Messi have only had 5 training sessions with Inter Miami. 5, dude. Mm-hmm. And it just fascinates me to see the impact that they can have on the team, on the culture, on the players. But more so, it makes me wonder, and I'm curious to hear from Adriana and from Soltero, from both of you. Yeah. Realistically, how many goals do you see Messi scoring this season? Whether in the MLS or with just Inter Miami, he's already got 3 goals in 2 games.
This season or the next season that it's going to be full.
It's tough to quantify it because they are halfway through the season right now, and then Leagues Cup is already in motion too. But I guess on an average level, I think there's an argument to be made that Messi could average 2 goals a game. He could average 2 goals.
He's going to get Haaland numbers at this point, man. Crazy.
Well, but they need to reinforce. They need some reinforcements on the defense also. But probably he's going to score a lot, and they're going to get a lot of goals too. But yes. I think I was doing some research last week, and I was watching some stats to see Carlos Vela, which is he was PTT of MLS a few seasons ago.
Yes.
And he scored like 32, and it was a record.
In the 30s, yeah.
Correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think
he went off
that
year.
I think both had like 30.
Okay, yeah, he beat Joseph Martinez. Yeah, correctly. Right. So Messi on a full season with Inter Miami, easy, could score like 35, 40 goals.
Yeah,
I think
so. I think
more than
40,
that.
Yeah, that's that. Yeah, honestly, I completely agree with that. I think next season, if he has the full season, I think 40 goals, 35 would be a really good prediction.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
That'd be
so
ridiculous.
probably at the rest of the season, we could say 20.
Yeah. I think 15.
He's in a different level. He's in a different level.
Yeah.
And it's not the same level as all the other teams in MLS.
You mentioned it there for a second, though, about how the team Inter Miami does have a little bit of flaws, especially with their defense. Although last night, the Inter Miami team we saw was completely different from what we saw in that Cruz Azul game. It was probably one of the best games they've had this entire season. I'm curious to know, Adriana, is Inter Miami, in your opinion, are they a Leagues Cup contender, or are they your pick to win the tournament, or who are you going with to win the Leagues Cup?
I knew that you were going to ask me that. I have to say yes. I'm not saying just yes because I'm still living the emotion. He just got here. This team was a totally different team. 2 weeks ago, they were coming up with a winless streak, 11 matches without a win. The Messi flair is going to make this team a contender on Leagues Cup. Remember that they don't have too much options to qualify for the playoffs in MLS. So I think Tata Martino is going to put all his la carne al asador to win this thing, because probably it's more difficult for Inter Miami to qualify to the playoffs than win the Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
And I think they could be a good contenders to what I've seen, the way of Messi is playing, like 50% of Messi, because he's not at his prime right now. I would say, yeah, they're contenders to win.
Okay. And Soltero, where are you at on who's going to win this tournament?
I think I actually agree with Adriana in the sense that because Messi is here, dude, they're last. They were last in the league, the worst team in the MLS. And they just beat Cruz Azul, albeit Cruz Azul not maybe in the best form. And they beat Atlanta United, who are, 6-7 places above them in the table in the Eastern Conference. Now, another thing is Atlanta have the worst defense in the league. So maybe that also does another factor. So I'm not going to get too carried away, but the fact that Messi has completely changed this Inter Miami team is crazy. I honestly can't believe it, because when they played Cruz Azul, I was like, oh, Cruz Azul is going to win this game. You know? I predicted they were going to win like 2-0, 3-0. But then it was somewhat tight. Robert Taylor scores a banger. And then as soon as Messi came on, I was like, oh, this game has changed. This is not what I expected, but I'm stupid because it's, the GOAT, Messi. So, yeah, I think Miami is now a contender because of that. But I do still think there's just slightly more well-structured teams. I'm looking at Cincinnati in specifics here. I think their front line is just a lot more threatening, with players like Luciano Acosta, Sergio Santos, also Brandon Vasquez going off and having a really good year as a number 9 for Cincinnati. And they also just got a new designated player, Aaron Bubenza, Gabonese forward, who's very similar to LAFC's. I forget his name right now. Buanga, very similar. A little bit more direct too. So I think Cincinnati have just added another really good player to an already good squad. I want to see how Cincinnati do against a very good teem in America.
But I'm gonna say something in Spanish, and you will translate it. Entre los perros hay razas.
Entre los perros hay raza? Is that what you said? In between the dogs, there's races or breeds. Breeds, yeah. Which is to say, I'm not sure.
Never heard that phrase before.
Really? You've never heard that?
Is it a saying on like how there's like tiers or like levels to certain things?
Exactly. All the names that you mentioned, they have a great level to play in MLS. They're not Messi. They're not and they're not going to be Jordi Alba either.
Yeah.
Entre los
right.
razas.
And that's why I'm so curious to see Miami play a slightly better team. Once they get to that round of 32 and whoever they end up facing, I'm going to be glued to that TV screen because I want to see what MLS teams or even Liga MX teams, what they do to try and stop Messi. I want to see if a coach tries to get courageous and maybe has some sort of personal tactics. Maybe you put 2 guys on Messi, but in that case, you'd be stretched on the other end. I'm really curious to see what the tactics that coaches employ to try and stop it. Or do they just say, hey, let's just pretend he's not there and try and score goals ourselves? Yeah. I'm really curious to see. But yeah, I think Miami do have a really good chance, but I'm going to go Cincinnati probably is my pick.
I need a pick.
And I'm going to go Cincinnati. And my another close one. Sure. Another close one. I'm actually gonna go like Philly. I love Philadelphia. I think.
Wow. So none
to the MLS.
Are gonna pick a team as a contender?
Yeah, I'm surprised after what happened in CONCACAF Champions League with your very own Leon. I'm surprised, but hey, someone's got to do it.
Your turn.
I'm waiting for him to finish up.
I think Liga MX teams are very, very good, but I just wish this was also half played in Mexico. I think the fact that it's always going to be in U.S. stadiums is going to play a part, and to go all the way to the final. Yeah, I think an MLS team is going to get there. And if they do, I think they're going to be very good. And I think they'll be good enough to beat their Mexican counterpart. But yeah, I mean, for America, León, for example, even Tigres, Monterrey, they're going to be up there 100%. But to win it all, I do think it's going to be one of the better MLS teams. I'm not saying MLS is better than MX. I just, I think it's a little tight.
Okay.
I think it's a little tight.
But that's what I find so beautiful about this tournament, man. I almost started crying in my research, bro. This is one of the most wide open tournaments I've ever seen, because I literally started listing out the contenders that I could see lifting the trophy. Chivas, Philadelphia, Inter Miami, America, Tigres, Cincinnati, León, LAFC, Monterrey. There's so many teams that I think could just get on a run, could get hot, and could end up winning this tournament. But when I choose a team, when I think about who I see lifting that trophy, I think it comes down to 2 squads. And 2 squads that in particular have a history between each other. 2 squads that just recently showed their class on one of the biggest stages in Liga MX football, and they're big-time rivals, Chivas and America. I think either one of those 2 teams will end up lifting the trophy, with Chivas getting reinforcements like Kevin Alvarez, Julian Quiñones to join their team. If they bring out their best squad from the get-go, I could see America actually having a very, very good run in this tournament. They're the Vegas odds favorites to win this tournament.
Yeah, sure.
And then Chivas being one of the hottest teams in Liga MX right now, 3-game winning streak to start the tournament. I think either one of the 2 teams from the Super Clásico will end up lifting the trophy. I'm hoping it's my beautiful Chivas, but if not, then at least America will be able to represent Liga MX at that level. And so that's what I have.
You're Chivas and you are putting as a contender America? That doesn't go together. That doesn't go together. So. You cannot say America ever in your life.
But that's proof that the give and go is unbiased. That's proof.
Unbiased.
If I'm willing to accept America as a contender, that says a lot about me as a Chivas fan.
I thought you were going to mention Tigres when you were talking about that rivalry. These 2 big teams. I think Tigre is, they always let us know that they are up to the challenge, whatever challenge they are in.
Yeah, and no matter how much we doubt them, especially this past season, they just kept winning. They just kept winning.
They just kept winning
in incredible ways. So the contenders are a good amount, but I'd love to hear that ultimately you're going Cincinnati. You're going Inter Miami, Adriana?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And I'll go. I guess I'll go Chivas. Okay. I sound so biased, but I really think it's 50-50 between Chivas and America.
I just want to add to your to this topic is that Soltero mentioned that he would love it to see some games in Mexico, but all the teams that you just mentioned, like America, Chivas, Tigres, Monterrey, they have a lot of fan base in the US. They're gonna feel like they're playing in Estadio Azteca. They're gonna feel that they're playing in Akron. They're gonna feel that they're playing at home, because there's a lot of fans here in the US that always go, not just for the national team, also for their teams. Like they're gonna go to the stadium even more now because they love Chivas, they love Tigres, they love America. So another thing that I would add, and that's why I'm putting not just because of Messi, a contender from MLS, is that the MLS is in the half of the season. Like Liga MX teams are just basically starting the season in Mexico, so they're not in the same shape as probably the teams from MLS. So I think that also could be a factor, an important factor in order to be their performance in this tournament.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a point that I forgot to mention, but I'm glad you brought that up. I think that is going to play a big role because these MLS teams are nearing the end of their season. They're trying to get ready for playoffs. So I think the better teams like Philadelphia, Cincinnati, LAFC, I think they're all gearing towards something big, something like winning the inaugural Leagues Cup, something like trying to win their own MLS Cup. But then on top of that, I think while Mexican teams do have a lot of contingency here in the United States, when I look at these big teams like LAFC, like even Austin FC, even though they're not that good, Sporting KC, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Portland Timbers, Seattle Sounders, all of these teams make sure that their home crowd shows up when they have an away team come through. That game against Leon LAFC, even though they were pretty bad, the crowd for LA showed up more so than Leon. Now, I understand that if America go to LA, it'll be a little different, but I can still guarantee that the majority will try to be LAFC, if it's not at least 50-50, rather than, you go to Houston, it'll probably be majority like America or Chivas if that were to happen. So I'm kind of banking on
Monterrey.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I do think that I trust these bigger MLS team home crowds to really show up, especially once we get into like the quarterfinal round of 16 stage when it really.
But that
really
sounds more like a dream to you.
No, what?
It's
gonna happen. He's trying to convince himself right now.
It's gonna happen.
Reality.
How many times I gotta teach you this lesson, old man? You saw the champions. You saw the CONCACAF Champions League where your own team was able to pull it off. I'm putting my faith in Liga MX now. I've been doubting them for a while, but I think a lesson that I learned, given in the CONCACAF Champions League, was that there is a lot of depth in Mexico, and they might not be at their most fresh state right now, but I just don't feel comfortable voting or predicting against them in this moment, given the ability that they're able to reach on an individual level with just deeper squads in general. I think they got something to prove here, and they can really silence a lot of MLS fans, and they can win a Leagues Cup tournament that is purely hosted in the USA. It'd be a massive statement. I think that's a big motivating factor for them.
And what I would add to that comment is that if they don't win, if a Mexican team or a Mexican club doesn't win the Leagues Cup, it's gonna be catastrophic. In the industry, in the media in Mexico, they're gonna kill them all if they don't win this Leagues Cup. If they win it, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Yeah. But if they lose it, they're gonna be, criticized. How can you lose to an MLS team? How can you lose against, teams that are not as well known as America or Guadalajara or Tigres or Monterrey? I think if they don't lose it, they're gonna lose a little bit more than win it. Because if they win it, that is gonna be, the supremacy of Liga MX over MLS. It's always been like that forever, and they want to still believe that it's gonna be the statement. But I think if they lose it, if one of them don't win it, it's gonna be really, really bad for them, for social media, for the haters, for the whole industry of Mexican football in Mexico. So you guys that they're pressured their teams even more.
Yeah, that'd be harsh though, because it's 29 MLS teams to 18 Liga MX teams, and it's all away games for Mexico. Like, I get why you guys are going MLS. You're putting your odds on the team that's on the league that's most likely to win it, just odds wise, because they have more teams that are playing in it. I get it, but it's something in me is telling me to bet against the house and to just run with it and to have that faith and belief.
I only put my Inter Miami as a contender or an MLS team as a contender because they have Lionel Messi and Busquets and Jordi Alba.
Yeah, both of y'all are very
Just
Mexican
because
pro
of
right
that.
now.
Otherwise, I wouldn't put America or Guadalajara or Tigres.
I
If Messi is not in the
smart.
picture, if Messi wouldn't be in the picture, I would say America or Tigres.
Yeah.
Not too much Guadalajara, but America or Tigres. But I mean, having Messi, it's different. It's a totally different, spectrum, I guess.
Yeah, that does make me nervous. That does make me nervous.
It does. I just think y'all are both underrating the fight that a lot of these MLS teams possess. I really do think so, because you talk about how Liga MX have something to prove, but I think these, especially if you're good in the MLS, I think you have the exact same thing to prove, because all you hear is Liga MX is better than you. I saw the Santos Laguna against Houston Dynamo game last night, and those Houston players, especially at the end, really made it personal. Because even though the crowd wasn't there, Houston went off. I thought they had an incredible game. Santos made it as competitive as they could. And there was even a little bit of taunting going on at the end and towards penalties, because Houston wanted to beat Santos. And we're talking about a mid-table team in Houston. Mm-hmm. Now let's imagine that this MLS team is a lot more talented, a lot more better. And it's awesome because, we don't get like a fluke run like LAFC going to the final. Mm-hmm. We actually have the 2 best or the 5 best teams in MLS performing in this competition. So I do think MLS is going to really go at these Mexican teams because they have that to prove to them. So I'm just saying, don't go too heavy on Mexico.
But then you got a Mazatlan, the worst team in Liga MX, beating a mid-table Austin FC.
But that's because Austin's terrible, bro. Austin is not good.
But I think that translates to most.
But it was one of the best teams last season.
Yeah, but that's just inconsistency. No, that's inconsistency. Austin is not good. I would not stand here and say that
they're a playoff team in the MLS right now.
But they're not.
And they're like got good momentum too.
But they're not Cincinnati. They're not St. Louis City.
And Mazatlan won't be America, bro, because America has got a big midfield that can actually fight back. That can they actually got a good midfield like LAFC didn't have in that final. So I think an America, a Chivas, a Tigres, I think it's gonna be fun games regardless, right? We can agree on that.
I know we can agree on that.
Because I love how you said you have the
I love to see a final. I love to see the final. Inter Miami against America.
Oh wow, that would be crazy. That's crazy.
That would be crazy for ratings.
That'd be amazing. But let's shift over to the last topic. We have a major tournament as well happening outside of America right now, over in Australia. Let's go to New Zealand and Australia. We have the Women's World Cup. It has finally arrived, and I think they're now 7 match days in. And there's been a lot of good moments already, with the USA winning big against Vietnam, Germany, Sweden, Spain showing their dominance as well. I'm curious to know, off the bat, how are you guys feeling about this tournament, and who are your favorites going into it?
I have a lot of favorites, I would say. Spain, watching Spain and see how Aitana is playing, having the 2 times Ballon d'Or playing the 90 minutes in the World Cup. I think Spain has a lot to offer. They have a great dominance. They manage the midfield really well. The possession of the ball, they know how to play with the ball when they have it. And it's practically more of the time than the rivals. I think the US is this, powerhouse that it's been giving us a great performance the last World Cups. It's been amazing. Now we're gonna have Lavelle as a starter probably for this match against the Netherlands. So I think my favorite always is gonna be the US. Of course, their play better. I could see that the gap between the US and other teams, fitness speaking, it's closest a little bit. So, but I think the US is gonna do it again. It's gonna do it again because they have this great team, great chemistry. Even though they have 14 new players that probably they don't have the experience as Rapinoe or an Alex Morgan or the same Lavelle, I think they are in a really good shape mentally and also physically, and they have played together for a long time. And I think for this tournament and this scenario for them, it's going to be great because they're gonna show that new blood that the US had.
Yeah, it's hard not to go with the USA, right?
It's really hard. Brazil is also amazing. The first match of Brazil was ridiculous. A ridiculous dominance. Aries scoring a hat trick. Martha
getting minutes.
37 years old, and she's still, her 6th World Cup. It's amazing watching Martha how she, the display that she has on the field.
Yeah. Ari Borges had that dirty, filthy assist in that game against Panama. Got tied in that box, but then no-look little backheel pass to a player oncoming, open net, beautiful Brazilian flair on display.
Yes.
I think Brazil's a genuine contender. But also to go back to the United States, and I saw a lot of criticism after that Vietnam game. And I kind of understand it. They were a little wasteful. Alex Morgan missing a penalty. Lindsey Horan missing a couple of open shots. Rapinoe missed a couple of bad ones. Yeah. But if you look beyond those mistakes, there was also, I would say, an equal amount of good that I saw. Because, when Alex Morgan wasn't missing a penalty, she was providing an immaculate one-touch assist to Smith, but it was a beautiful touch. And then from there, Smith just put the ball in the back of the net. Absolutely beautiful
American
goal.
Football there, man.
And then when Horan wasn't missing it, she was putting the ball in the back of the net with a nice laser type finish. And then the rest of it, I thought the U.S. looked so dangerous just in general.
Yes.
Vietnam had to work really, really hard in that game, and they played great, but they still lost 3-0. If Vietnam were any more switched off, it would have been 6-7-0. So I understand we were a little wasteful, but I think the U.S. just need to grow into the tournament. It's our first game. 3-0 sounds pretty good to me. I do wish our group stage was probably a little bit more difficult, but we'll get there when we get to the round of 16. I think the USA are genuine contenders, though, once again, after having won it last time out and the time before.
Yeah, man, I really am finding it tough to pick against them. It's just not common for a team to win back-to-back World Cups, man. In any sport,
that is crazy.
It's just so tough to achieve. But they are the favorites right now. They're playing like it as well. But I think throughout the past 4 years, Europe in general has really done a good job of improving their systems with women's leagues over there as well. And so we're seeing some really good contenders now. Whereas in past years, I thought they were a little bit more passive with it. Germany, England, Spain, Sweden, they all look really good to me. And I think that, and I'm going to predict, this is my prediction here. I'm going to say that this year, we won't see the USA win. We'll see a European team lift the trophy. And I think I'm going to go Spain here. I think I'm going to go Spain. Barcelona, I think, just recently won the Champions League in the Women's League as well. I think there's a lot going for them with two-time Ballon d'Or, Alexia Putellas leading that line and starting to get back into form, coming off of that injury. I want to see Spain show their dominance and their prowess at the World Cup stage this time around.
They play beautiful. They have the possession of the ball. They know how to do what they have it. Putellas, I think, we're going to see, she's going to be improving with the World Cup. We have to see how is the game against Netherlands going to be. Like, it's like a rematch from the last World Cup final. Remember, the U.S. won 2-0. But I think, I don't know why people criticize a lot. I think it's because of the expectations that we have with this amazing team and the dominance they've been having the last years with this U.S. team. But they have 26 attempts. Wow. 26 attempts against Vietnam and 7 occasions in target. So Vietnam didn't have not even one opportunity or trying to get closer to the goal. And as I mentioned before, I think not in Vietnam case, but Spain case, Germany, England, that fitness that made the US such a dominant team, that is every year is close, is closer, because now they have competitions that they didn't have before. UEFA Champions League, all these players that are playing in the national teams, they play in the UEFA Champions League and also in the Euro. Like we have to see what is going to happen. But I think the European teams are going to get very far away. But I think the U.S. still is going to be dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think Spain looked really, really good. Germany looked incredibly scary too, to kind of go off of that, how European teams are getting a lot closer to the USA. And I don't think it'll be as easy as it has been for the USA, not even close. And then even that, Japan looked great. I want to highlight this playmaker that's on their team, Yui Hasegawa. She has such a knack for finding the most creative passes, the angles that she's able to facilitate, and just even beyond that, her distribution. She's so talented on the ball. I think this Japanese team plays very well together. They have great chemistry, and they like to go forward with an emphasis on technique on the ball. So I like Japan as also another really good team at this tournament. And, you know, talking about the closing of the gap, we've seen some debutants go head to head with, you know, seasoned teams. Haiti, the way that game started, I was like, oh, there's no way that they're going to be able to maintain any of this. But after like 15, 20 minutes, they settled in the game, and it was a very tight game.
Yeah.
They even went forward a couple times and were able to craft some decent chances. Philippines, basically the same thing, actually getting a win against New Zealand in that second match. And then South Africa, not that they're debutants, but South Africa played really good football. The transition was excellent, so quick on the wings. They were so unlucky that they weren't able to get a result in that game because they deserved a lot better. But, you know, if anything, it's just inspiration to play the same way, but this time finish your chances and get the result. I like South Africa too. So that gap definitely is closing. And I think it's just going to make for a pretty crazy tournament.
That's what I'm saying. We have two wide open tournaments at the end of the day where we could see a wide variety of winners. One thing is for certain, though. Argentina ain't winning this World Cup. They're not winning this.
Come on, man.
They have to develop their game. They have to develop their game. They have to improve a lot of stuff in Argentina. Probably the soccer needs to work on a lot of areas to make this team more competitive.
Who do you have as like a surprise of the tournament, Adriana? Is it like a Japan, or could it be South Africa bouncing back from their first loss? Who do you see? Canada has started off really well as well. Who do you have as like a surprise or dark horse in this tournament?
The dark horse in the Women's World Cup, I would say, Japan probably, because I think that the European teams are really tough to beat. And the U.S. is going to be the U.S. The U.S. it's been the U.S. in a World Cup. They know how to play this tournament. They have this new generation of players that they're really well developed. The U.S. has a lot of opportunities and a lot of ingredients to be better in every match they will play in.
Okay, so final question here. Let's say the Earth is ending, the aliens have arrived, and they tell you that in order to survive, you have to tell them right now who your pick is to win the tournament. I need your final submission. Who is it going to be? Who wins this tournament? I said I'm going with Spain, but I'm still not sure where you two are going. Is it the USA? Tell me, folks.
No, I did it. I said it before. The US. I'm still confident.
Okay. USA for Adriana, and Soltero, your pick.
He's thinking too much.
Japan looked good, bro.
Japan looked great. I mean, if I had to do a top three, I'd say Spain, Germany, Japan. Or, well, no, that's not fair to the USA. That's not fair to the
But Japan to win the whole... I put Japan as a dark horse, making it to the quarterfinals, but not to the final and
No. Dark horse, in my definition, means you can go all the way to the final. If you can't do that, then you're not a dark horse for me. And I think Japan actually has the talent to go very far. But I need to see how they play against Spain. That's the thing. I also need to see Germany play against a not really poor team in Morocco. So this is really early to tell. Obviously, I think the USA is probably top contender. If I had to pick a European team, I'll go Germany. But if I have to pick one, I'm just going to say Germany. Let's just go Germany.
Okay. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. Germany, Spain, USA. I think one of us will be right. I think one of us will get it right.
Yeah.
I think in one of those, there's a champion.
England's going to end up winning it then in that case.
They're not playing at Wembley.
Well, Adriana, it was a pleasure to have you on. Please, do you have anything you'd like to plug, anything you'd like to announce on the pod to our listeners, your Instagram or your Twitter? Where can people find you to follow you on your social media?
Well, on Instagram, Adriana.Monsalve. Adriana Monsalve. On TikTok, I need on because I know you guys are huge on TikTok. I need to start working on my TikTok account.
Okay. Well, now you can get some clips from this.
Probably you can help me.
Awesome. We'll make sure to tell the folks to follow you there.
Thank you so much for Adriana for coming on. It's been so much fun, and honestly,
it's been a pleasure.
Do this again. That should be great.
Yeah,
having a third person, especially someone as knowledgeable and as fun as you, has been fantastic. So let's just keep talking football. One thing
of course.
Come on.
Yeah, I agree.
Tómala. I will be here whenever you want.
Tómala, la Monsalve. And this is The Give and Go, folks. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe.
Reynoso Soltero y la Monsalve, estamos out.
That was actually really nice. I appreciated that.